from Oak Ridge, Tennessee. Your source for the Department of Energy's environmental cleanup news. Energycast starts now.
Hi everyone, I'm Summer Dash. Welcome to your March episode of Energycast. Let's go ahead and get started with some Energy Bites.
It's a lot of hard work has paid off to get into this point. So this is the first of many, but getting through this one is kind of a sigh of relief for everybody that's been working so hard to get to this point.
The first shipment is off. There is a whole lot of hope in what you are seeing here. Uranium-233 waste has left Oak Ridge. The waste gets disposed of in the desert, but it's what else is being done with that stockpile that may save lives. We're going to explain why this symbolizes the future of cancer treatment.
You know, I'm Anderson County. We also consider Anderson County a close partner. We're actually sister counties with Roane County, so I always start with Y12 and ORNL.
The Oak Ridge Reservation falls in both Roane and Anderson counties. We're always grateful when area leaders come to visit us and see what work is being done here in their backyard. The mayor of Anderson County took a tour recently and spoke with local DOE leaders. We're going to hear her thoughts and from a commissioner as well.
And a friend of mine that owned a gym, he's like, pretty strong.
It takes a lot of strength to do many of the jobs around Oak Ridge, but this woman takes that to a whole new level. She's a weightlifting world record holder. She works as an operator in the Transuranic Waste processing facility. We find out about her competitions and a softer side. We're learning more about that fire at Y12 National Security Complex last month. Building 9212 is where it happened. It was built in the 1940s, and that's where uranium is processed. No one was hurt in that February 22nd incident. We wanted to understand, though, when something like this happens, what goes on inside Y12 to keep both employees and the public safe.
Specifically for consolidated nuclear security.
It was just before 10 a.m. when Stephen Wyatt got the call.
Media work out of this area.
By the time he got here to a conference room at a building just outside the gates of the Y12 National Security Complex, reporters had already begun showing up, eager for details.
There's so much out there on social media. If we're able to get facts out quickly, this helps the public understand what's going on.
Wyatt is the spokesperson for the National Nuclear Security Administration.
It's a very exciting, very fast-paced event to deal with events like this.
It's his job to make sure the public gets the right info to stay safe.
We were processing uranium chips, and it basically had a uranium fire. Actually, it's called a rapid exothermic oxidation.
On a day like February 22nd, when that fire occurred, he says the communications team will send out updates directly to news organizations and via social media accounts. Fast and accurate, that's the goal.
Since we have a national security mission, you have to be very careful with the information that we do share. So it's a very careful, very well thought out process.
A few hundred employees were evacuated that day from several surrounding buildings, but he says the public was never in danger.
Actions that are taken immediately to determine the level of the emergency, what needs to take place. And in this case, since it was contained within a building, there was no need for warning sirens or the outside public to take any actions.
In the case of an emergency that may impact the community, the media briefing area would be at the Joint Information Center, more than 5 miles off-site.
The JIC is where you bring state and local government agencies.
Employees, he says, are prepared for this. There's a known level of risk when dealing with a flammable substance like uranium.
This is a known hazard, and we have procedures and protocols to address this. But in this case, what we did, the extinguishing agents, wasn't really helping the condition. I mean, it wasn't out of control. It was contained within a small hood in a production area. But because the temperature was not going down, we decided as a precaution to evacuate the facility.
Uranium is used in nuclear weapons and powers submarines and aircraft carriers in the U.S. Navy.
We deal with hazardous materials as part of our national security mission, and for that reason, we train extensively to make sure we're always ready to respond.
Air monitors never went off that day, meaning no radioactivity. It was the evening before the fire finally stopped burning. Officials are still investigating that incident. They say they will revisit their protocol and make any changes needed. Meantime, a new uranium processing facility is under construction nearby. Once it's up and running, work will be phased out of Building 9212. The Y12 website lists one of the main goals of that new facility as improving worker safety. It is also expected to bring down costs and energy consumption. There goes the first shipment. We've been following the progress of uranium-233 at the Oak Ridge National Lab. It dates back to the 1950s and 60s. Researchers are using isotopes extracted from U-233 for cancer research. The remaining radioactive waste gets disposed of off-site. What you're seeing right here is a shipment of that waste. It's been down-blended and processed so it can be safely shipped. EM's goal is to eliminate the entire inventory of this nuclear material that's stored at the Oak Ridge National Laboratory. This marks the first shipment of the high-dose inventory of U-233. It's transported out of state for permanent disposal. But it's what happens before it gets to this point that has many people very hopeful.
Feels good. It's exciting. I think everybody that works on this project gets more out of it than just a paycheck. We know that we're making a difference with cancer research, and we're also making the lab a safer place and East Tennessee a safer place by getting rid of this material.
The isotope extracted from the U-233 is called thorium-229. It's being used by medical research company TerraPower for next-generation cancer treatment. There's a limited amount of uranium-233 in the world, so extracting the life-saving isotope prior to getting rid of it is vital. Leaders from TerraPower are expected to visit Oak Ridge in the coming weeks. We will be on hand finding out the latest on their efforts and how that groundbreaking and life-saving research is coming. We're going to bring you that full report right here on Energycast. March is Women's History Month, and we have got plenty of women making history in Oak Ridge. Two chemists at Oak Ridge National Lab made People magazine's list of 2023 women changing the world. Clarice Phelps and Candace Halbert took the 8th spot. They were honored for their work outside of the lab. Halbert founded a nonprofit called YoSTEM. Through it, the two bring science, technology, engineering, and math to underserved kids in Knoxville. Other major names on that People magazine list include Oscar nominee Michelle Yeoh, NCAA athlete and influencer Olivia Dunn, and singer-songwriter Brandi Carlile. Move aside, we've got some big equipment coming through. Crews just installed 2 massive clarifier plates at the Mercury treatment facility under construction right now. Each one weighs 16,000 pounds. This marks the first mechanical installation. The Mercury treatment facility is a key piece of infrastructure that will allow EM to start major cleanup projects in areas with mercury contamination at Y12. We will keep you updated on the status of that project as it progresses. Well, we warned you last month, this next story is not for the faint of heart. Imagine climbing a ladder that's more than 200 feet tall. That is exactly what some employees are doing at one of EM's projects at the Oak Ridge National Laboratory. Energycast's Cameron Jacobs gives us a look.
So what we're doing is we're performing a stack inspection. We got a 70-year-old stack, got some degradation, and we're just trying to do an inspection to see what the status is and figure out what the lifespan of the stack is and figure out what repairs are going to be required to keep it operational in the future.
That's Project Manager Ben Bellia discussing an inspection underway on a 250-foot tall stack located in the heart of the Oak Ridge National Laboratory. The chimney-like structure dates back to 1949, and it's still in use today. A task at this height on a structure this old poses some unique challenges.
We're no longer able to use the step irons that were originally installed, and we're actually installing a new ladder on the stack and inspecting as we go up. We're also installing this ladder with no hot work, no welding on the stack in the stack area, nor any penetration into the stack, so it alleviates any concerns from hot work or any kind of silica work. So it's a unique project.
While EM has used drones to perform visual inspections over the years, this will be the first physical inspection since 1995. Current schedules have the structure standing another 10 years before it's taken down. That's why it's important to check its condition and any needed repairs.
As we move up, there's maybe 5% of the mortar joints are degraded and may need repair. There was some drone footage of the stack, a few years ago, and we expect to see some more repairs required as we move up.
Moving up isn't just as simple as climbing a ladder. That's where International Chimney Corp employee Joe Brower tells us what it takes to make the climb.
Absolute no fear of heights is a good quality. We have a good personnel with our company. We train our individuals well. We have what we call our training stack at our office. So people come in, when they first come in, they have to go through that training process of how to don their harnesses, how to use our safety equipment before they ever get on a chimney.
Joe is part of the crew completing ladder installation and stack inspection. He says the job is the culmination of EM and UCOR's year-long planning effort to ensure a safe and successful inspection.
UCOR is very safety orientated. DOE as well. I would say that a lot of planning and thought went into this project before it ever started. And that has kind of contributed to the way that way everything has worked, right?
To complete this project, employees are taking it one step at a time. Reporting in Oak Ridge, I'm Cameron Jacobs.
Thanks, Cameron. Workers began their inspection at the 50-foot level, and they are moving up that stack about 5 feet per day. We will keep you up to speed on their status right here on Energycast. And we've got an update on a leadership change in Oak Ridge. Last month, we told you longtime UCOR COO Tom Dieter was retiring. His replacement has now been announced. Kent Fortenberry will be taking over. He was formerly the critical project director at UCOR with more than 4 decades of experience. United Cleanup Oak Ridge is the largest cleanup contractor to the Department of Energy in Oak Ridge. The first load of transuranic waste is out the door, 80,000 pounds of it, in fact. That is 35 drums full. There is a stockpile of that radioactive waste in Oak Ridge left over from defense-related research decades ago. Now, crews are working to safely get rid of it. This shipment removes some of that waste and sends it off-site for disposal. After a 2-day trip, they arrive at the Waste Isolation Pilot Plant in New Mexico.
The project's been here since 2001 and shipped over 200 shipments. This is UCOR's first, so it's something UCOR hadn't done in the past.
With its first true waste shipment successfully completed, UCOR is set to continue regular shipments until the site's entire inventory is removed. EM is working to complete cleanup at the East Tennessee Technology Park. Most recently, that involved removing more than 31,000 pounds of transite from Poplar Creek. Now, that creek runs right through the ETTP site. This type of material was used in construction of various facilities there. It's a concrete or clay material mixed with asbestos that was once used to make boards or pipes. Here's a look at how crews spotted it and got rid of it.
Today we were doing an assessment to evaluate whether or not we had completely removed the visible transite from Environmental Unit 17. There's about 300 feet of shoreline there where there was some historical asbestos panels that had been disposed of there along the riverbank, and we were removing those as part of a remedial action. So the crew had removed everything that they could see from the opposite shore using binoculars. We took the pontoon today so we could get up close and verify that it was complete. We saw one small area that needed some additional removal, but 95% of the shoreline was free of visible transite. Once we verify that one last area we were looking at there is clear, which they'll do tomorrow on the pontoon, we'll be able to finish protecting that shoreline by armoring it. We'll put the large shot rock at the base of it to stabilize the knee, and then we'll add in riprap up through the rest of it up to the top. That'll be done.
The transite was shipped to the Oak Ridge Reservation landfill for disposal. Crews are now backfilling and stabilizing the shoreline. Work is expected to be done by April. Demo is coming soon for Building 3005. That's the low-intensity test reactor. Crews started installing a berm to prevent contamination migration. They have prepared the inside of the facility already. They mark items for demo, secure materials, and then take out anything that may interfere. Demo should start this month. We will keep you posted right here on Energycast. And that Building 3005 demolition project is another major step for cleanup in ORNL's central campus. It'll also impact this year's public bus tour. The area normally used by tour groups to access the graphite reactor will be occupied by demolition crews and their equipment. The 3005 sidewalk behind the graphite will be closed most of the tour season until that project is finished. Hillside Avenue on the other side of the graphite reactor will remain open to normal traffic at ORNL, but size limitations in that area prevent bus routes. Employees at the federal building in Oak Ridge are lifesavers. They had the chance to give blood. The Medic mobile donation unit stopped by for a few hours. Many federal employees and contractors popped in to donate. We are told they collected about 22 pints of blood.
Oh, it's just like you feel like you're actually, doing something.
Hey, if you're interested in donating, Medic Regional Blood Center is open 7 days a week. They also host mobile drives very often.
There are a lot of opportunities we have because of the federal presence here that a lot of other communities wish and long for.
The Anderson County Mayor has a better understanding of future missions here on the Oak Ridge Reservation. She stopped by for a tour and briefing from local DOE leaders. We're going to hear from her in just a few minutes.
Since 2011, several records that still haven't been broken.
Everyone has a life outside of work, but when we heard about this employee's hobby, we knew we had to share it. She's a weightlifting champion. Stick around to hear her story. The mayor of Anderson County is more familiar with the work happening on the Oak Ridge Reservation after a tour and briefing. And we always appreciate when local leaders stop by to better understand our mission. Let's go ahead and take a look at that meeting.
Just kind of boil up. You come out of there ready.
Because of those federal missions here in Oak Ridge, it gives us new opportunities, better opportunities, gives families the ability to put food on the table and make a living for themselves.
Had you ever toured the actual History Center before this?
No, I have not.
How was it?
Didn't even know it was here, and it was wonderful. Like I said in the meeting, it's really a flagship to the area museum, and being chairman of the Coal Creek Coal Miners Museum, that's what I want to be.
Anyway, I think there's some real opportunities.
Did not realize, the extent of that reindustrialization and what it means for the future of economic development in our area. I guess I came away today with a greater appreciation for the measure of partnership there. I mean, it belonged to the people, and EM is getting things cleaned up and then turning it back to the community. And so that was something that my perceptions were furthered today.
A $50 million task, well, many tasks that is. Professional Project Services Incorporated, or Pro2Serve, has been awarded that contract. Under the 5-year task order, employees with the Oak Ridge-based small business will assist DOE with technical support related to environmental cleanup happening here. That means working in areas like project planning management and procurement. This new contract replaces the expiring technical support contract also held by Pro2Serve. DOE awarded that back in 2017. With the start of UCOR's new contract 6 months ago, the contractor has a major focus on cleanup at ORNL and Y12. But before crews can start a project, there's a lot of planning that goes on behind the scenes. Energycast's Cameron Jacobs takes us through that process and gives us a deeper appreciation for the teams that start the work.
For UCOR, earning a new 10-year cleanup contract with EM was just the beginning. With the contract in place, staff are now busy putting work packages together. Those packages outline how UCOR will perform specific tasks and projects, and they let crews start the work. And there's a lot of cleanup work to plan at ORNL and Y12. Since the new contract started 6 months ago, there are more than 500 packages with another 100 in development now. For perspective, the entire previous year accounted for 200 work packages.
We actually have an entire different work scope at those facilities. So while we were tearing down big facilities at ETTP, now we're doing a bunch of smaller facilities with the same amount of work. So what that is entailed is a lot more work, a lot more paperwork for our workforce.
Dennis Cope, who helps with planning, explains these work packages cover a range of tasks that vary greatly in size, scope, and complexity.
I've had one that is clean up a small little stain on a floor to, demolishing an entire building, and each of those is one work package.
One of those projects was the demolition of the old criticality experiment lab at Y12. Seeing one of his first major packages completed gives a sense of accomplishment.
It's really cool. One of my first buildings is completely done, and I got to do a lot of the last steps of it, so it was neat seeing it get emptied and then get demolished and then getting, the vegetation grown over it, and I got to have a pretty cool part in that.
Coordinator Stephanie Russell explains the increase in these packages.
Well, it says that we're in more places, for one thing. Of course, we have a different group that's at Heritage Center, and then we cover ORNL and Y12. And we have to do things a little bit different in that, you have a package, but then you have a performance page to do a specific job.
These packages involve projects from soil cleanup at ETTP to infrastructure upgrades at ORNL and decommissioning and demolition at Y12. Each is a piece of the puzzle that takes a team to put together.
I'm the final leg, but these guys, the planners, are awesome. And I don't think they get the recognition that they should. This is a great group. If we didn't do what we do, they couldn't do the work in the field. And they take a lot of pride in what they do, and we have a great group.
Cameron, thank you. Planners say the number of work packages is still on the rise. That means we'll have a lot more projects to report to you in the coming months. Hey, check this out. This is James Capshaw's badge. Capshaw helped build the world's largest building in Oak Ridge during the Manhattan Project. You can see by his badge he worked at Clinton Engineer Works, the earliest name for what would become the Oak Ridge site. It was established in 1943 for the manufacturing of the first atomic bomb. Capshaw was also a co-founder and manager of the Oak Ridge Bombers baseball team in the 1940s. That was an all-black minor league baseball team active between the 40s and 60s. Just a few months ago, a group of former players were honored at the Oak Ridge History Museum, and we got to hear from them and covered their story. That's what led a viewer to share this picture and the story behind it. We love hearing and sharing stories about the special people who lived and worked here. If you'd like to learn more about that baseball team and see an original jersey, it's on display at the Oak Ridge History Museum. Meantime, we are continuing to honor women's history in Oak Ridge. The W.G. Lenoir Museum in Norris Dam State Park is hosting the Her Story photography exhibition of women in the Secret City. The exhibit remains open the entire month of March. You can visit the museum in Norris, Tennessee, Tuesdays through Sunday from 9 to 5. These are just always fun. You've got kids in Tyvek suits, and it's like one big science fair. We're taking you inside the Jefferson Middle School STEM night, where the future generation learned all about the work happening in Oak Ridge.
Took 3 first place in the Open, my age group, and military division, which in that I set a world record.
A champ at work and a champ in the gym. We are shamelessly bragging about a super cool employee. She's a record-holding weightlifter, and she works right here in Oak Ridge. We've got her story coming up. Another history-making woman in Oak Ridge. One of the best parts of this job is getting to learn and share what makes our employees so very interesting. This story is no different. We found an employee who just happens to be a world record holder. Cameron Jacobs sits down with JoJo Brousseau, who is a competitive weightlifter. She's back to her winning ways after taking some time off.
Meet JoJo Brousseau. She's a waste operator with UCOR who's worked at the Transurionic Waste Processing Center for the last 9 years. She's also a world record holder. Early in her career, JoJo served in the U.S. Army as an ammunition specialist, and while on deployment overseas, she learned that she had a passion and talent for lifting weights. When she returned home, that passion and some friendly encouragement led her across the country as a competitive weightlifter.
Back to the States, I'm like, well, might as well continue. And a friend of mine that owned a gym, he's like, pretty strong. I'm like, yeah. And he says, we're going to get you in a few contests. I'm like, okay.
That advice and training led to impressive results.
I have still, since 2011, several records that still haven't been broken.
After 30 years of competition, JoJo hung up her belt for more than a decade. But that wasn't the end. It turns out she was just giving others a chance and taking a rest for her next set. Last December, she started competing again. She picked up right where she left off.
But I did pretty good because I took 3 first place in the Open, my age group, and military division, which in that I set a world record.
When she's not setting world records, JoJo has a softer side.
I am a foster mom for cats. I have several feral cats. I have cats myself, but yeah, any cat that's needing a new home or needs the, for a little bit so I can foster them.
Next up, JoJo has her sights set on the biggest stage for powerlifters and bodybuilders, the Arnold Classic, as in famed actor and bodybuilder Arnold Schwarzenegger. Her training is underway to qualify for that event month. We have a strong feeling she'll represent Oak Ridge well.
Our workforce is full of a bunch of athletes. This is Kevin Cunningham. He's ranked 106th in the nation in his age group for DECA. It's an intense workout training program called the Decathlon of Functional Fitness. Cunningham works as a safety tech for United Cleanup Oak Ridge. He also served in the Army. Hey, we want to introduce you to the newest member of our team. You're going to be seeing Sierra Hellermann on Energycast in the future. She is our multimedia fellow. Sierra is originally from the Nashville area, but is currently studying journalism and electronic media at UT Knoxville. She's also skilled in graphic design and photography, and we are so excited to show her how our industry works, and we are so grateful for her help. She will be working on this show as well as social media and communications efforts. Our team tries to make sure future employees know what opportunities exist in the EM world from a young age. The Oak Ridge EM team was set up at the Jefferson Middle School STEM Night to teach kids all about our work. This was a sprawling event that took over the entire school. Car races in the gym, simulations in the foyer, and 3D printer in the cafeteria. We spotted a whole lot of Tyvek suits too. Looks like DOE contractor Isotech is bringing even more of them to these events than ever. Their glove box is always very popular.
I look like a giant marshmallow.
We also overheard a comparison between those Tyvek suits and the costumes Rihanna's backup dancers wore during the Super Bowl. I'd like to think that makes science pretty cool. What can I say? We strive to make our work relatable. That student also told us her family had just moved here from out of state for her dad's job. He's working at the uranium processing facility at Y12. The family has been very impressed with the resources available to students all across Oak Ridge and the tremendous STEM opportunities in East Tennessee. And our team also got to show up for the students at Hardin Valley Elementary. Their STEM night brought out more than 1,000 people. This is interesting. School leaders tell us estimates show about 60% of their students will grow up to work within 10 miles of the community. With so many STEM-related career opportunities in East Tennessee, they say it's really important to introduce them to the possibilities young. Hey, deadline alert, March 31st. If you're interested in joining the Oak Ridge Site-Specific Advisory Board, that is the deadline. ORSSAB is made up of community members who give input and recommendations for cleanup on the reservation. Scan that little box on your screen. It'll take you right over to that application. We are looking forward to sharing more exciting stories with you next month. That includes coverage of an event that brings together federal officials, private companies, and the medical industry. They'll discuss a project that's advancing revolutionary new treatments and offering hope in the fight against cancer. We're introducing you to some new members who just joined our advisory board. These local residents serve 2-year terms and provide valuable perspective and recommendations to our program, as you just heard. DOE is looking for public input related to cleanup efforts at the East Tennessee Technology Park. We're going to have more on that project and how you can submit comments in our April episode. Thank you for joining us for Energycast. New episodes come out on the 3rd Sunday of the month. You can watch on air and online. We post Energycast episodes on our Facebook and YouTube pages the day after they air. Head over to follow us on our social media accounts. We are always happy to answer questions and share information with you there as well. Hey, and remember, if you work in environmental management in Oak Ridge, keep us in mind if you come across a story. We are always looking for news tips and story ideas from across the reservation. preservation. Email your idea to oakridgeem@orem.doe.gov. Let us know there. You might just see it right here. See you next time.